On this edition of the Sports Opinions podcast, Marist College head softball coach and former Yankees pitcher Joe Ausanio joins the show as we talk some Marist softball, his days pitching in the big leagues, and some Buffalo Bills off-season needs. Hope everyone enjoys it. Cue the intro music. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions podcast. I am your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. With me today is the head coach of Marist softball and also a former relief pitcher for the Yankees. He is the one, the only, Joe Ausanio. What's up, Joe?
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Now, quickly, Joe, do you have any social media tags that you want to plug for maybe Marist softball or for yourself, anything like that?
Sure. We're at Marist Softball on Twitter, and we use our Twitter handle quite a bit. So,
very nice, very nice. Joe is coming off of a pretty damn nice day today. Split today against NC State and Bryant University. And, how did you feel about the games today?
Well, I was excited just to finally have some decent weather to play in. Every game that we've played so far has been 40 degrees or less. So it hasn't been real fun. And, today it was in the high 60s, low 70s with lots of sunshine. And I think it just felt good to be out there on some dirt and just getting to play in some nice weather finally.
Yeah, it's always nice when the dirt acts like dirt and not like concrete when the ladies are sliding around on it. But we'll touch a little more about Marist softball in general. I do want to start off the podcast with a little bit more of a somber note in a way. It's both of these guys. It's kind of a weird situation because neither of them have passed away, but it's really touching because both of these guys, I think, have had an impact on both of us.
Sure.
First one maybe isn't necessarily sports per se, but he's brought up a lot of sports categories. Alex Trebek, he's been the host of Jeopardy since my whole life. I know Jeopardy went on before me, obviously, but He's been the guy. He was just diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which unfortunately we don't have this advanced science enough to cure that yet or even really curtail that. But he said he's going to keep working. What is Alex Trebek? How has that news touched you at all in any way?
Well, I remember when he announced it, I was actually watching the show, and I just remember feeling this empty sadness. This guy has been coming into our living rooms for, I think 30 plus years, and it's almost like you get to know these guys, him, the Pat Sajaks, the Vanna Whites of the world, where the Bob Barkers, these people that they just they become part of your life as well, and I just remember just feeling this sadness come over me, and I immediately went on Twitter and saw that he was trending and the well wishes, and he's just he's a very respected professional at what he does, and I wish him all the best. I really do.
Could you imagine being the production staff sitting there, getting this news? They obviously got it earlier, but getting this news and then having to look at each other in the face and go, we have to start finding somebody new now. Like, that has to be hitting them, and that has to be one of the toughest parts of that right now.
You almost can't imagine somebody else doing that role. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, that's all we have known. I remember when I was really young, I think I can vaguely remember, I believe it was Art Linkletter or somebody like along those lines who did Jeopardy in the early 70s. But I just don't foresee anybody taking his place. I mean, he's one of those guys who are just irreplaceable.
It's going to be difficult. I think we felt that way with Bob Barker, but time heals all. Drew Carey, I think, has done an awesome job with the prices, right?
Yeah, I love Drew Carey. But to me, again, I grew up with Bob Barker, and I just remember being in love with the models on Price is Right when you were, a 12-year-old boy, watching that show and, trying to memorize all the prices in case you ever got on the show. I used to write down all the prices of everything because I thought I was going to be on the Price is Right one day. So, but yeah, I mean, Drew has filled in probably as admirably as somebody could. But I think Alex might be another tough road to follow.
Definitely tough to follow. He's not an easy one. A funny note is I don't know. There's the real life, I guess, rivalry or dislike between him and Sean Connery. And Mad TV did an awesome skit. I don't know if you remember it, where it was always their Jeopardy skit, but they had Sean Connery in the middle, and he asked Sean Connery a question. His response was like, "Up yours, Trebek," and it's like a really funny moment. And I wonder if Alex Trebek reflects on these types of things and just notices the icon that he has become.
I have no doubt. And by the way, that was a pretty good imitation right there. I really thought it was.
I'm a Bond fan, so
Yeah.
the only real Bond is Sean Connery. If you're a real Bond fan, then everyone agrees.
I'm with you on that one, Alex. The only Sean Connery. Yep.
Absolutely. Now we're going to switch gears. This guy actually was a sports guy. I feel like he may be more for you than me because I wasn't around to really watch him play. I heard stories my dad told me about how just unbelievable of a pitcher Tom Seaver was. And me even being a Yankees fan, my dad being a Yankees fan, just the type of guy that you respected because he played the game the right way. He was just diagnosed with dementia, and he and his family have asked that, we respect his wishes, and he's taken himself out of public life, which is sad because that is a amazing baseball mind that we're not going to be able to pick anymore.
Yeah.
Just for you coming up as a pitcher, how was that? How was a guy like him who just seemed to play the game right and was great? How did that affect you and what you wanted to be as a pitcher?
Well, growing up in New York, I got to watch the Mets and the Yankees every day, and watching Tom Seaver pitch, he was just, for a couple of years, probably a stretch of 3-4 years, he was probably the best pitcher in the big leagues, and obviously had an amazing career, and was I believe he's like a 96% Hall of Fame inductee, with getting 96% of the vote. So obviously he resonated not only with the fans, but with the sports writers and the people who actually had the power to put him in Cooperstown. So he was just amazing. And, I'm hoping that, he lives his last days as happy as he can, because it's a tough disease if you've ever been around dementia. It's a really tough disease to be around, and I wish him and his family all the luck with that.
Absolutely. They said he's going to continue to work on his vineyard over out in California, so he's going to do what he loves until his end. You brought up the Hall of Fame and that he only got 96%. Therein lies the problem with the Baseball Hall of Fame, that there is any sports writer that doesn't vote for a guy like Tom Seaver should probably be stripped of their rights to vote.
Yeah.
There should have been so many more unanimous guys than just Mariano Rivera. It's a great honor that Mo got it. I love that he did. But there should be many more unanimous Hall of Famers. But I guess that's a whole other podcast that, we can get a panel of baseball guys to do.
Alex, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I was shocked Ken Griffey Jr. didn't get 100%.
Oh.
I played against him when he was in his prime. And, I tell everybody there were no two players like him and Barry Bonds. I mean, just seeing those two up close in person, you can say whatever you want about Barry, but, he was still one of the most talented players across the board. I mean, he was a true five-tool player. He could run, he could throw, he could hit for power. He could hit for average.
Barry mind boggles me. He really does, because he was possibly the best player in baseball before he started all of his PED usage. A 30-30 guy every single year. It was dumb.
That's true. Yeah. I just I hope he gets his due.
Yeah, I do too. I think they need to open up to these steroid era guys, because in my eyes, as much as it was affecting the game, it's now documented that it was being used on all ends. So
listen, Alex,
it was pretty even.
There are already PED users in the Hall of Fame, so you can't.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can single him or Clemens or anybody else out. I just what's happened is that the media portrays Barry in a certain way, and a lot of the fans, they can only go by what the media tells them. They don't know Barry the person, and Barry the person. I got to play with him when I was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was one of the nicest guys. He was always very friendly and cordial, and I remember one funny story when I had just had my first son, Joey, And, after the game, I brought Joey into the locker room, and Barry comes up to me and goes, "Give me that kid." He took Joey, and he's walking around with Joey in the locker room. And Joey, Joey's only about, 4, 5, 6 months old. No, maybe like 7 months old. And the next thing I know, Joey starts yanking on Barry's gold chains around his neck that are probably worth more than I made in like 5 years. And I said, "Barry, you need to give me that kid back because I cannot afford one of those necklaces if he breaks them." So it was kind of a funny story, but I hope he gets his due. He is, like you said, he was PED use or not, he was one of the greatest players that's ever lived, if not the greatest player.
I think Alex Rodriguez breaks those floodgates open because I think it's now, everyone assumes that he's did it for a long time. But
Sure.
I just think what he's doing as a media personality now, he's definitely endearing himself to all these sports writers more than he already did. He was never a really contentious guy in terms of the way he was with the media. But
Right.
I think now that he's building a better rapport with all these guys, I think he's going to break those floodgates open where when he gets in, there's going to be no more excuses at all.
No, I agree.
So we're going to now jump gears. We're going to go back to talking baseball, but we're going to shift back to Marist softball because currently you've been doing it. How many years now have you been the Marist softball coach?
This is my 11th year.
Wow, it's insane. Because I remember I started at Marist in 2007. So you went in partially through, and you also, how long have you been working over at the Hudson Valley Renegades?
I've been with the Renegades for 20 years.
Wow. So yeah, it's been a while, and you've had plenty of successful seasons with Marist softball. I harken back to, I check everything, and I try and stay in touch. You saw, I came back as an assistant coach for a little bit over with Pete Colizzo. You had an amazing season back in 2016, going 45-13. Yeah. I think that's got to be our most successful season in history.
Oh yeah, we broke a lot of records that year, as well as we broke the MAC record for wins. No team had ever had 40 wins, and we went 45, and we actually went to Tennessee in the regionals and played them really tough, and then played Ohio State really tough the next game. We ended up losing out in 2, but I'm sorry. Yeah, that was 2016. We went out in 2, but it was a great run, and we just had a lot of talented players. But I'm excited for the kids that we have and the kids that we have committed coming to Marist, that hopefully we can stay really good for a long time.
Without a doubt. I think we definitely have the gears there. And I have to really ask you, because you, as a former major league player, you have experience traveling a lot.
Sure.
How has your, use as a pro and how you knew how to gear up for road trips, how has that helped you help your athletes kind of gear up for these types of road trips? Because one of the things about, baseball, softball, and any Division I sport is there's a lot of travel involved.
Yep.
So how has your experience, you think, helped you translate helping your young women do this as well?
Well, honestly, I try to really schedule our games and our travel with a lot of rest involved, with short breaks if we can, trying to get good schedules and not play the first 2 games or the last 2 games at night and then the first 2 games in the morning. I'm really trying to talk to whoever runs tournaments to spread games out, so it's not, you're not playing late at night, getting short rest, and then trying to come back and play early in the morning. So, things like that, trying to take kids to different cities, and having had that opportunity and that luxury of being able to travel and see, this great country that we have. I try to bring kids to different places every year. And, currently we're in Charleston, South Carolina, which is absolutely one of my favorite cities. It's just
I'm really jealous of you right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm really, really jealous that you're in South Carolina at this moment.
Yeah. It's gorgeous here. It's absolutely gorgeous here.
That's just, that's just a great thing. And I think it's a great trait that you have that you can bring to all of these girls. Now, I have to ask you one thing. Right now, with the current season that you're on, what is the rest of the season's outlook? It's very early right now. What have you seen from this team right now that you are going to be able to build upon to have the successful season the rest of this year?
Well, I've seen a lot of good things. I've seen, like today, we had really, really good pitching today, and we had some really good hitting in previous tournaments than this one. So we run the bases well. We play really good defense. I'm thinking that if we can put all of those aspects together, that we could have a very successful season. But I tell the girls, we're not good enough to do just two or three things good and win games. You have to continue to really excel at every aspect of the game, and I think once you do that, uh, a lot of success can follow.
Without a doubt. Also, so where right now you're in your play with your kind of out of conference schedule. Once you get in conference, where have you seen the growth of the MAC conference? Because I feel like it's only gotten tougher since you've come in as a coach. I feel like MAC in general and all the sports are kind of trying to make itself one of the better like mid-major conferences in every sport. Where has you seen the competition growth in the MAC?
Well, honestly, I mean, if you go back to like 10 years ago when I started, Canisius was pretty much the dominant force in softball in the MEC. Um, they would win year after year after year. And then, slowly other teams were gradually getting better and starting to catch up to them, in the recruiting process and scholarship wise. And the next thing you know, the MAC is wide open with a lot of really good teams. Like last year, going into the last weekend of the season, you had 10 of the 11 teams still fighting for a spot to make it to the MAC tournament. So there was a lot going on in that last weekend. And it just goes to show the parity in the conference now that the coaches are doing a much better job recruiting better athletes. And I think we all strive to get really good student athletes. So I'm hoping that as the MAC continues to grow and get better, that we continue to draw better kids from all over the United States.
Without a doubt, because that's what you strive for as coaches. You're obviously all against each other, but you see each other so often. So you gain a kind of a friendship, kind of a kinship of, your own conference. And yeah, it's exactly what you want. You want the conference to grow together because, like you said, it can attract better athletes and, a better grade of softball. So speaking of softball, obviously coming from a baseball background, having to shift to coaching softball, the basics of the games are the same. You pitch, you hit with the bat, glove, running bases. That's very similar, but there are different strategies when it comes to baseball and softball. What was your transition from going from being a baseball player to now coaching softball?
Well, I think probably one of the bigger things is, your softball is very pitching dominant. It's the girls are throwing from 43 feet, and they're continuing to get better. And when you're throwing from 43 feet at 60 plus miles an hour, you don't have a lot of time to make a decision on whether or not you're going to swing or not swing. So offense is a premium, and you don't really get the big innings like you do in the major leagues where, the Houston Astros would bat around, once a game. That really doesn't happen very often in softball. And I think that learning how to manufacture runs and obviously playing a short game, small ball, and we bring a lot of baseball stuff. We do a lot of hit and runs and a lot of stuff that a lot of softball teams don't really use. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I bring is just I bring a different mindset on how we're going to attack at the plate and not just, give up outs, trying to bunt runners over. We really try to do some different things and really try to keep defenses on their toes.
That definitely gives an advantage to you guys because, like you said, there's probably a lot of coaches that are seeing some different stuff out of you that might throw them a little bit off. Now, one thing that I think also might give you an advantage, and you can tell me here, I found out from you that you are an avid chess player, which I'm going to have to come into McCann one day with a chess set, and I'm going to have to play you and just see how bad you kick the crap out of me. But how, chess is essentially the game of war.
Yep.
How do you think your mind as a chess player kind of helps you mold for like the strategy and the competition? Because it really does come down to strategy between you and the other manager as well. Sometimes when it's a tight game, both teams are playing great. It's just that one different decision that can change the game there. How do you feel that chess helps you in that sense?
Well, like in chess, in chess you have the opening, the middle game, and the end game. Um, I'm very studious on openings, and I learned a lot of openings, and I actually took chess lessons from Arthur Biscayr, who was one of the best chess grandmasters in the United States, and um, so learning opening theory was really important to me because I felt that in the middle game and the end game I was pretty strong. I could if I was open spaces I could figure stuff out, and but I think the biggest thing with chess is you're always thinking ahead. You're not going to be a very good chess player if you're going one move at a time. You're trying to have a plan, and you're trying to attack, or you're trying to defend. The other person's attack, and just trying to be moves ahead of the other manager in softball is kind of the strength that I gained from chess and applying it to the softball diamond.
You would definitely kick the crap out of me. And shout out to all the professional chess players. You guys are awesome, and you're really smart, and you take a lot to do it. It takes a lot to do that, to be able to think that way and that quickly and that awesome.
People don't realize the amount of time that goes into studying and learning chess if you want to play it at a high level. And we actually had a American grandmaster this year who played for the World Championship, Fabiano Caruana. He played against Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship and actually played him really tough. They drew every game until they got to the rapid chess, and then Carlsen won. But it's something that I think a lot of kids are starting to pick up now, and I think it's really great for your mind. And I hope more people start picking the game up if they haven't already.
You hear that, kids? Put down Sudoku and pick up chess. Before we move on, from Marist, I don't know if you want to say something. I saw that Art Himmelberger, band director, is going to be leaving us after 33 years.
Is he?
I saw that somewhere. I saw that he was giving a final farewell. I don't know if he's just leaving doing the basketball games or if he's leaving in general. Because I know Art did leaps and bounds for that band program. He got that room, for crying out loud, basically.
I love Art. He's such an energetic person, man. When he sings the Marist fight song at the basketball games and he's running around center court, he is a mainstay at Marist. And if he is planning on retiring, I wish him well. But he has had an incredible career at Marist, and he's done such an amazing job. I love our band. I think that they're awesome. Every once in a while, I want to climb up the bleachers and start banging on those there.
Yes. So, from Everyone Sports Opinions podcast, I'm pretty sure the Marist community, Art, if you are hanging it up, thank you very much. You've been awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
So we're going to jump back into some baseball. We talked a little bit. I want to talk about your big league days. I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm super interested in your Yankees time, but just your big leagues in general, just give me kind of a quick synopsis of what you took away from your experience in the big leagues, because it's a rare case that anybody gets to even taste that. So I'm jealous because you were a pro athlete. That was my goal. So what was it like just experiencing that?
Honestly, Alex, I feel very blessed and very lucky just to have been in the right place at the right time. And I tell people the story that I'm pitching for the Montreal Expos and Double-A, and I'm pitching really well. And the Yankees saw me pitch against them in the playoffs, and I think I had an outing against them where I threw 4 1/3 innings scoreless with 8 or 9 strikeouts. I just had a really good game against them. And the next thing you know, I got Rule 5 drafted by them because the Expos only had protected me at Double-A. So the Yankees put me in Triple-A, and I was just, I was behind all their prospects and just sitting there, just biding my time. And, when I got the call, I just, tried to stay professional and just, kept trying to get people out. And then luckily for me, Matt Noakes came down on a minor league rehab assignment. And, he caught me a couple of games because I was closing for the Clippers at that time, the AAA affiliate in Columbus for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, he come up to me, he goes, "Man, you're better than everybody we got in the big leagues." I'm like, "Well, damn, dude, when you get back there, you need to say something to somebody." Fast forward a couple days later, we're at the Major League All-Star break, and we're having some guys over. We had it off for the game, and cooking some dinner for everybody, and the phone rang, and they're like, "Hey, Joe, that's for you. You know, you're going to the big leagues." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And fair enough, it was Mitch Lukovic, the minor league director for the Yankees, and next thing I know, I was on a plane to New York, and I got to pitch in the big leagues in '94 for a little over a month, and then that was when the strike happened in '94. And as most people know, that season got canceled after that strike happened. So it was a fun month, a little over a month, and then in '95 I pitched pretty much the whole year in New York. I had a couple of week-long stints in Columbus, to make room for people on rosters. Mariano Rivera and I were kind of on the shuttle back and forth that year, and it was one of those things where I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and luckily for me, Matt Noakes came down on a minor league rehab assignment, and the rest is history.
So do you not have the ability to be starstruck anymore? Like, have you been around so much talent and so many people who are basically celebrities of the game that you don't even get starstruck at this point, or does it still hit you that when you meet someone that's big?
Never been. I was never starstruck. I always treated those guys with respect, and obviously respected their privacy and their time. But I'm not going to lie. There were a couple times when I was going around getting some autographs for myself because I said I might not ever get here again. But it was one of those things. I have like a whole drawer full of Cal Ripken autographs somewhere, in some box somewhere, and I got a lot of baseball signed. And I actually, believe it or not, I mean, I think you were going to ask me this, but I grew up a Boston Red Sox fan as a kid.
I was about to bring that up.
And one day we were playing the Red Sox, and one of my idols, Jim Rice, was their batting coach. And I went up to Jim Rice. I had 3 baseballs, and I just said, "Mr. Rice, would you sign these balls for me and my two boys?" And he signed them, and the Yankees fined me in Kangaroo Court $5 a ball, but it was the best $15 I ever spent. So it was it was pretty cool, just to be able to go up and say hi to him and just tell him, he was an important part of my life.
It's pretty cool that the Yankees were cool about that. I guess they get it. They get those situations. They're not trying to bust your balls. But
well, believe me, it's reciprocated. Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs, they'd always have a bunch of stuff in front of their locker from the other team all the time. I just happened to go up to Jim Rice myself because I just I wanted to meet him and just shake his hand. And he couldn't have been more gracious.
That's great. And it's always nice to hear when stars are good people and they understand who they are and why people are coming up to them. So, you did mention you were a Red Sox fan, also a Celtics fan. You're also a Buffalo Bills fan. We disagree on 3 out of the 4 major sports teams. I'm also a Devils fan, so we're cool with that.
Okay, cool.
The other 3, we got to work on those. But
the only reason why I root for the Bills is because they're the only true New York team in football.
They're the other Canada. Buffalo is Canada. Can we be honest here?
Well, the Jets and Giants play in New Jersey, so I guess.
I'm also a Jersey boy, so there's that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I'm actually really excited that we just got Antonio Brown. I think that's a great.
I don't know if that's 100% official. There's still disputes on whether or not that's actually going through, and if Antonio Brown's going to suit up.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Oh, without a doubt. Anyone that says that they don't want him or Le'Veon Bell is crazy. Yes, absolutely crazy.
I agree with you there.
We're going to touch on the Bills some more to wrap up the podcast. I just want to pick your brain real quick. Now,
sure.
You were a Red Sox fan. You had that experience. What was it like pitching for the team you probably grew up liking the least in the Yankees when as a Red Sox fan? I know it's just I'm in the bigs. I'm going to do what I am as a professional. But was there sometimes across your mind going, man, couldn't it have been the Sox that called me?
No, honestly, that never, ever crossed my mind, Alex. I just I was thrilled that the Yankees were willing to give me a chance. And, now I'm just last summer I went down. My wife got me tickets on Father's Day to go down. And I finally signed my ball, and now I'm in the Yankee Hall of Fame down there in their room.
Congratulations!
My son is now down there, and that was exciting because I was, I always tell people it's very hard to go back to somewhere where you may have been fired from. When the Yankees didn't want me after the '95 season, I was a little bit bitter because I thought, I had a lot to give, and I ended up signing with the Mets in '96, and didn't have that great of an experience there, but it was it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I just feel very lucky to have gotten that opportunity.
So now, all the years later, I can imagine the bitterness is gone, and you seem to speak very fondly of the Yankees organization at this point. So
Yep.
I can imagine you're still a Red Sox fan, but you definitely root for the Yankees, I'd imagine, when they're not playing the Sox.
Honestly, I don't really root for anybody anymore. I just love enjoying watching great baseball. I do, obviously hope that the Yankees can win, and that's it's always a lot of fun to for me to watch good baseball.
I feel like a lot of guys that played at a high level say that same exact thing. They stop really having fandom, and they just start wanting to see the game that they
Yeah,
play as good as possible.
yeah, that's probably a fair statement I could give you.
So just quickly, I'm going to scrap the last part. I was going to ask you predictions, but you know what, though? The teams have won 100 games apiece, 100 and 108 games. Predictions this year are one of them is going to go to the World Series. I think that's fair. Basically, right now, that's what I see it as.
Okay.
So I just want to ask you this because it got brought up again today. I was watching some minor league ball with the Yankees, and the robo umpire got brought up again. And they
Yeah.
brought up replay and how everyone is just obsessed with getting it right. You being someone that grew up playing the game, and I played a little bit of baseball, but I played sports in general. One thing I was taught is human error is part of the game. You don't destroy the umps, you don't destroy the officials because they're human too, but that's part of it. Get over it, play the game, be better than the other team, and you'll win. That's it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole entire get it right, replay, possible robo umps, everything coming along?
I'm kind of on the fence on that because part of me, the traditionalist of baseball, agrees with you in the fact that, human error has always been part of the game. And it's one of those things where uh, you just grow up watching a game a certain way, and all the changes that they're trying to make. I feel like they're trying to better the game at times, and then other times, probably not. But honestly, I'm good with replay. I like replay. I think that they need to change the way it's done a little bit. I think sometimes it just takes too long. It should just be right away. Like they shouldn't have to, go put headphones on and talk to, right away. And, maybe not go through that whole ordeal to determine whether or not it's an out or safe or a home run or a fair or foul ball. Excuse me, just, the whole transition has to be quicker. Just know right away. Um, I think for me, like I remember watching Galarraga in Detroit throw his perfect game that wasn't a perfect game because of a horrible call by Jim Joyce, if you remember that game.
Oh, I remember it very well.
And I just said, that right there is the reason why replay needs to happen. You can't. How do you take that away from that guy who, that's perfect games. How many have ever been thrown? And that guy threw a perfect game, and not only did he lose the perfect game, he lost the no-hitter. He lost everything all at once, and it was because of a really, really bad call. And that was the one that really turned my opinion on instituting instant replay. I just felt that for me was. I thought it was a travesty, and I put myself in Galarraga's shoes. But kudos to him; he handled it professionally and with grace. And I just think if I was him, I probably would have been pretty bitter about that.
Yeah, he handled it better than I think everyone else around him. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. It's a new spring league coming up. Well, it is here. It's 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
I think they handle replay the best right now. It takes it out of the ref's hands. Someone upstairs makes the call. They look at it. They make the call instantaneously, send it down. That's it. I don't think I've seen a replay go over like 30 seconds so far. I think that's the way it needs to be done. Their only job should be to watch for that replay. And I think that's the guys on the ground shouldn't really have much say. They should be told what to do. They had their chance to make the call. If it has to go to replay, it should be out of their hands.
Well, I'm sure the New Orleans Saints fans would probably love to have that right about now.
Oh, my God. Yeah, they definitely would. Now, last question with replay, though. The only thing that annoys me about baseball replay is when they go back and when it's the most minuscule thing. When the guy's tippy toe comes off by a fraction of a millimeter, he was obviously safe, but those little things, I think that are a little bit too ticky-tacky and where replay is not good in baseball.
Yeah, no, I can understand that thought process. I just, for me, it was the egregious calls that were just blatantly missed that
Yes.
I feel, something needed to happen about that. But, every sports, every major sport has instant replay. And, I think baseball being the last to have it, I just felt that it had to happen. Like you said, I just feel like it just needs some revamping and become just quicker. I mean, baseball has become, probably the longest, most boring of all the major sports. And I think, baseball's trying to do better by, doing some speed up rules and, the whole intentional walk thing. Now you don't have to throw, stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a great debatable topic, because there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. But for me, like I said, the egregious calls that get missed, I think it's definitely worthwhile to have it.
Yeah, and that's really where the base of the argument comes for. And it's hard to dispute when you see, like you said, the Galarraga and the New Orleans Saints. Like those types of things, you can't debate them. Jumping into football, you are a Bills fan. You talked about AB going there. Like I said, I didn't see the report being finalized. If it is good for the Bills, I actually hate that because I'm a Jets fan. Don't want to see that man twice a year. But if he's there and he suits up, that's amazing. I actually want to ask you about another wide receiver there who I thought had a good year last year, was going to be better as a rookie. Zay Jones I think he's a dynamic wide receiver for you guys. And if you guys can add Antonio Brown, he becomes a really nice number 2. Do you think Zay Jones, with AB or not AB, is going to continue to grow into a more star role for you guys?
Yeah, honestly, I think the key for that is, just Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, he's raw, but he's very talented. He's talented with his feet, and he's got a big arm. And I think that once he puts everything together, and as he gets older, he's probably going to run less and throw more. But, he has a big arm. And I think that once he figures everything out, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NFL. I really believe that.
No doubt in my mind about that. I was on record on the podcast. Sam Darnold was actually a third guy on my list when it comes to the big 3 quarterbacks. I didn't include Lamar Jackson. I was never really a big Josh Rosen guy because of his injuries. For me, I liked Baker. I actually like Josh Allen first, Baker second, and then Darnold third. I'm happy we got Darnold. Of course, I'm behind him. But when the Bills got Allen, it's another time where I feel scorned because I want AB. You guys are getting AB. I wanted Allen. You guys are getting Allen.
Right.
I do think he has a great future. He is super raw. Now, you guys have a young coach in McDermott over there.
Yep.
These two guys have a chance to create a really nice relationship and really nice symmetry. And if those two can grow together, it could be super fun over in Buffalo, Canada. So how, in terms of McDermott too, where is McDermott's leash? Because, he's young, he's new, he's got a tough situation ahead of him. Yes, he has a quarterback, but there are holes on that team. Yep. Where is McDermott's leash right now, do you think?
I think it's long. I think it has to be long. He has, he doesn't have a lot of talent there. So, until they, develop some of the younger players, until maybe they get, some key acquisitions like an Antonio Brown. Hopefully he decides he wants to go play in Buffalo. I think the leash will be long. I think it has to be long.
It definitely should be. And also one thing that I want to say is the Bills Mafia has done so much for just the Buffalo fandom. I think in general, there are a bunch of friggin' psychos throwing themselves through like fiery tables, but in terms of just the passion that they've shown just for Buffalo sports, I think they've done so much for that fan base and showing players and people around the country that, these are the guys. And when a dude like Kyle Williams, who is wrapping it up, I know you're probably sad to see that he wrapped it up.
Yeah.
The whole entire piece he put out in the Players Tribune just goes to show you what being a Buffalo player for that fandom is about. What are your feelings on the Bills Mafia? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Having lived in Buffalo and played in Buffalo, Buffalo is a great sports town. A lot of people don't remember this probably, but Buffalo was a finalist for a major league franchise when the Tampa Bay Rays were fighting to get a franchise. Tampa Bay got it over Buffalo, but Buffalo they were on track to be one of the new expansion teams in Major League Baseball. The Sabres are playing really well right now. The Bills. It's a great sports town, and the fans in Buffalo are loyal, and like you said, they are rabid. And you saw what they did when Andy Dalton threw that touchdown pass.
Yeah.
How much money got donated to Andy Dalton's charity
was great.
They're just so appreciative. I mean, it really is a great town and a great sports town. And I love Buffalo. I loved my time there. Met a lot of great people there. My son is living there now. He graduated from UB with an engineering degree, and he's working up there. And I have nothing but great things about Buffalo, Canada, like you say.
Yeah, that's my always fun joke, calling it Buffalo, Canada. But Kyle Williams, Fred Jackson, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, any of the greats. If you guys for some reason gets to your ears, make phone calls to Antonio Brown for Joe's sake to get him to suit up for the Bills.
That'd be great.
All right, Joe. This was lots of fun, man.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate having it. I'd love to come on again if you want me, and hopefully we can have some really good things to talk about in the future.
Without a doubt. Maybe I'll come invade McCann one day, sit in your office. We'll do this live. It'll be a good time.
Sounds good. Be more than happy to do that.
Wonderful. Do you want to do any promotions again for the softball for yourself, social media wise, anything like that?
No, just we'd love to have people come to our games. Our schedule's online at GoRedFoxes.com, and we're at Marist Softball on Twitter, and my personal handles xyank54 on Twitter, and love to reach out to my fans and the few that I have, and again, thank you for having me on.
Without a doubt. And again, this is the Sports Opinions Podcast. I am your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Cuesta30. Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. On Instagram, SportsOpinions30. Search for us on Facebook and anywhere where you can find a podcast. Spotify, iTunes Podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, anywhere. Go search it. You can find it. Listen to this great episode and any other guests that I've had. And, spread this out to anyone anyone that wants to come on. It's more than welcome. Anyone. It's open for all sports fans. So, again, Joe Ausanio, former Yankees pitcher, amazing Marist coach for women's softball. Thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And everyone have a good one.